Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to a new webinar session from Edugo. As you can see, this is not your usual webinar host. My name is George Morochica and I am the head of brand awareness at Edugo. And today I have as well a host, which I will soon let her introduce herself. In the meantime, I am admitting. Kate, would you like to briefly introduce yourself? And then I'm going to share a little bit my screen and then I'll give you the floor. In the meantime, I am admitting people in the room.
Sure. Yes, I do have a bit of a reminder of who I am. Now let me go over to it real quick and I can go from there. There we go. Can I share my screen real quick, Georgia?
Yeah, sure, please do.
Perfect. Oh.
All right, so now people, in the meantime, I see other people joining and I'm admitting them. Okay, just a quick reminder, please, if you can mute your microphone, that'll be really great. Obviously, you have your, we'll have a Q&A session at the end, so if you have questions, it would be awesome if you guys can ask them at the end. In the meantime, if you can just mute the microphone, it would be amazing.
Good. Okay, so before we're really jumping into what it is that you guys can be doing, I did want to take a few minutes to introduce myself and basically just let you know why it is that you can and should be listening to me. I find it always so weird when you start out a webinar and I don't know who it is that I'm listening to. So first and foremost, my name is Kate and I'm a teacher. I'm a business English coach. I've been teaching since 2008. I've been teaching business English in Germany since 2012, which means that I go into different companies and I teach English in the conference rooms of these international companies. I started using social media kind of for buyers for a course, but I didn't have the course at that moment. And since 2018. And then we opened our online school in October of 2019 with a course. So I had this grammar concept. It was an idea of why I was coming to Instagram. And then it took me about a year to figure out and to plan and to film and to edit and all of that stuff. And we opened the online school in 2019. And I say we because I asked my best friend to join me. So he and I worked together on this. My main goal on coming to Instagram was not to make $1 million. For me, it was about balance. I had just had my second child, and just it really became clear to me that if I wanted, like, basically everyone in the household needed to be healthy in order for me to work. If anyone was sick, I had to cancel. And I was still at that place in my career. I really hated canceling. I mean, I still do, but I really hate, like, it felt like a failure at all times. And then more often than not, I don't know if you guys know about children, more often than not, they're at home with you and they're sick, but they don't necessarily, unless they're throwing up, they don't need to be cuddled all day long. So, you know, the idea was for me creating some content, creating some ebooks, creating something that could go towards the greater good in those moments of needing to be home and being around my babies while they actually didn't need that much. So now, and I will show you this later, but I do have not one, but two online Instagram pages. So my first one is English Anywhere. This is where I teach English. And then I also started one specifically talking to and working with other teachers on how to build profitable, sustainable businesses. And if I'm honest, the majority of the sales I make are organic. I have paid ads before. I have run them. I have seen success from them. But more often than not, the success that we have seen from both pages is completely organic. And I think that is because of the things that I post and the things that I talk about, which we will also get into later, and how you guys can do the same thing. Yeah, two things that happened in my business in October 2020. So at the time, we signed an international contract with a Fortune 500 company who bought the concept of a course. And by November 2020, we had created the course and sold that course. and then also taken it and recreated it to then sell online. And we also started working with online teachers. So that was a beautiful month for us. Now it's October 2022.
That's,
and I'm here talking to you guys.
amazing. That's an amazing story, an amazing introduction, Kate. And I'm gonna just share a little bit the agenda of what we're going to talk in our webinar, and why should you guys stay with us as well till the end. Don't go away. So obviously, we are going to talk about creating your language course easily and get students on Instagram. Kate will obviously tell us more about how to do this, and the agenda, as I mentioned, is we'll talk about optimizing your profile, your Instagram page. Then 7 seconds to grab attention, which is another of the bullet points for this agenda, your pillars and your offer, and then we'll go a little bit more practical and show you how to create a course which you can leverage to drive traffic from Instagram to your own ecosystem. In this case, create a course with Edugo, and then there's going to be a Q&A session at the end. All right, Kate, after this, I'm going to throw the ball back to you and give you the floor. And if you want to dive deep and start with the presentation, it would be amazing.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're doing things a little bit topsy-turvy now. Now I'm showing you the first part of my presentation here. So this is, first of all, me. So I'm sharing here my Instagram portfolios if you have any interest in checking out exactly what I do, both just for research for yourself on the English Anywhere page, and then also follow me on the Balancing Teachers page. Take your pick. I'm all over both. I know Irina knows that. We've worked together in the past. Hi, my dear. Okay, so there's my introduction to who I am. So we wanted to talk about, or I came here today to talk about 3 very specific things. I want to talk about optimizing your profile for your business. And the reason I've said here for your business is that I've gone live on Instagram numerous times about, it's called optimizing your bio for a page that brings in students. In fact, Giorgio and I last week on Friday went live and we discussed this at length. So if you guys are interested in finding out the 3 things that I absolutely say you need to do in order to start getting clients on Instagram, please go check that live. I don't want to do that here only because I don't want to waste your time. So please check it out. It was a fantastic live. Now I want to talk about optimizing your profile for your business, which is just one step further than that. Okay. So this over here, this is my profile as of today. This is the post I made today. One thing that I want to talk about when it comes to your page is optimizing your profile for success in business. So what do I mean by that? First of all, I want you to think about your handle. Okay, your handle is one of only 2 locations that you can actually search on Instagram. Most people, I would say 60 to 70 people at this point, have a handle that uses the word English. But if you do not, I would highly recommend it. Okay, we have English Anywhere. If I'm completely honest, that is the name of our company, but I could get so much more specific. This is why names like English with Adriana, English with Nab, English with Lucy, this is why those are successful, because people look up English, right? So if you're like business or online teacher is okay, but you can get so much more clear with the word English or Spanish or yoga or whatever it is that you're teaching. Okay, this is one of 2 locations on your profile people can actually find from the outside. The second place is, I think you guys can see my little hand here. I think you guys can see that. Is this bolded section right here. Now, this bolded section right here is also searchable. So if somebody puts in business English, my page is one of the first ones that come up. Or English coach, my page is one of the first ones that come up. This is incredibly powerful. If anything, it's almost more powerful now than hashtags, because hashtags are slowly losing their power. I think Instagram has replaced them, but I will also talk about that in a little bit too. But you want that bolded line. So don't write, name, star, heart, a teacher extraordinaire or something like this, because people aren't looking teacher extraordinaire. You want that to be as basic and as clear as humanly possible. English teacher, group classes, English teacher, or Spanish coach. You really want that part to be as clear as humanly possible. Okay. Next, so this line here is not searchable, but as I said in that live of optimizing your bio, this is the most powerful place for you to explain what it is that you do and who you help. So you'll want to make an incredibly clear section here on what it is that you do. Now, I've actually shifted this a little bit because I've got a paid promotion running at the moment and I needed to shift this over. But I usually say I help busy professionals fit English into your day with video lessons in the Business English Academy. Okay, so video lessons, Business English Academy, I want them to know from that sentence, that's what they can expect from me. As I said, I had to shift it around a little bit, but when this promotion is done, I will go back to linking my course and then talking about the Business English Academy in the sentence above it. Before we move on to any next thing, why don't we come back to you guys here and ask, is there any questions about the handle, the bolded line, or that first line of your bio? If you want, you can turn your mics off and just ask, or if you're scared, you can ask in the what's it called, chat section.
Yeah, if you have any question, ask in the chat, or if you want to jump in and ask your question, feel free to do that. Or if you write in the chat, I'll read it out loud.
Awesome. Okay, good. So yes, if something comes up and you're like, but is my thing clear enough? Ask it. Please ask. I am happy to answer. Okay, so the next thing you want to do, so those are, oh, yes, Ben?
Hey. I was just wondering about your thoughts on the language. So I'm teaching Spanish speakers. In your experience, is it better to have that information in English or in the target language?
If I'm honest, I would say target language. I think it's so much more powerful.
Okay.
Nice, good.
So maybe I wasn't so clear with the target language, meaning their language, not my language.
No, exactly. Yeah, niche target. So
Okay,
if your niche is Spanish speakers and you're looking to teach them in English, unless they're super advanced, I don't see any problem with doing that in Spanish. Although, it depends, in my opinion, on the size of your audience and the amount of buys you get from this. If you're like, okay, try something in Spanish, it doesn't seem to be working, try it in English, or say, click here for the Spanish translation, and then it can bring you over to your sales page.
Okay.
Right? So try things, don't be afraid. I've tried numerous things in the 4 years of my time here.
This is a constant question that many teachers ask, like which language should they use to use the copy for marketing, like the bio and so on and so forth. But I think, trying different things and see which one resonates with your audience is the best. Obviously, it starts with knowing your audience and the level of the.
Well, there you go. It's like you have to know your audience in order to know what they prefer, in order to create the thing that resonates with them. It's definitely either an uphill battle or a downhill battle, no matter which way you want to look at it. But I do think there's been many times for myself personally when I've thought, if I had one person in one language that I could speak to, I could be so much more clear by speaking in their language during the sales process. So I would say try that and see if it works. And then we can also get into this a little bit later on the kind of post you want to bring people over to your page, Ben. I'll mention your exact situation in a little bit, because I do think that that's valuable. Flavia.
Flavia raised her hand. If you want Flavia to ask the question.
Yes, sure. I'm in that situation as well. And does it make sense to have like two profiles on Instagram? One in English, maybe for intermediate or more advanced students, and another one maybe for students who don't feel so comfortable reading in English? Because, for example, in my case, I target intermediate and upper intermediate students, but I wonder whether it makes sense or if it's even possible or suitable to have two pages in two languages. Or
I'm gonna speak as someone who has two very different niches and two very different pages. Don't do it.
okay.
It adds so much more. And honestly, when you're now that I have two pages, you have to spend time engaging on one side in order for the algorithm to put you in front of the right people. And then you have to go into the other side and engage with the correct people on that side for the algorithm to trigger and blah, blah, blah. It is an awful lot of work. I would personally say that if you had two different offers, one that's intermediate where you can speak English, and one that's more beginner where you would speak in their native language, I would say keep them on the same page and just talk about the two different offers.
Okay.
Well, I will definitely get into the kind of posts that call to your ideal person in a little bit. So Flavia, will come back to this, I promise. But very, very genuine idea. It takes a lot of work to grow. So when you're like, okay, I'll post over here and then I'll post over here and then I'll gauge over here and I'll create stories for here and I'll do this over here. It can become a lot. So I would recommend keeping it as one if you can.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay, let's move on and then we'll come back to more questions as they come up. As Giorgio said, write them in the chat box if something comes up for you guys. So, okay, now we've kind of covered the top here. We've got, just as a reminder, we've got your handle, that top bolded line, the first line in your bio. The next thing for me is that you do really want, well, I'm assuming you do really want to keep a professional looking page. So for me, for example, I tend to keep some sort of pattern on my page. And by pattern, I don't mean something colorful or anything like that. It's not about that really. For me, I see these pages that have my face, my face, my face, my face, my face, and the content might bring in more people. But when someone comes over to your page for the first time, they're actually looking, it's almost like you can imagine they cross their eyes and zoom out just a little bit, right? And when they're doing that, you want them to get this feeling of this is a place where there's tons of information for you. Okay, so there's lists here of things that they can do. These tend to be really great for saves, which helps the algorithm understand that people love your content. I personally have my face every other post or every third or fourth post. So here, for example, I went live with a friend and I used her face as the cover, but my face is here everywhere. It's very, very clear that this is my page, my product. You can trust me. Okay. I'll see two different things. I'll see a lot of pages where people think I don't want to put my face up. It's really uncomfortable for me. I hear it all the time, and I completely agree. When I started 884 posts ago, I was feeling the same. I didn't want to show my face either, but at the end of the day, and I think you'll probably agree with me here, if you are thinking to yourself, my doctor has said I can't eat meat anymore, I can't have lactose, and you like Instagram, so you look up lactose intolerance, and then you find someone here, lactose intolerance coach, and you come and you find their page and you want to follow them. If their face is not here and their face is not here, you'll probably never actually book a call with that person. You won't ask them for their time. You won't want to give them your time or your money. And both are the things that we consider the most important. Right? It's not just my money, it's also my time. I don't want to show up to an hour's consultation with someone if I don't know what they look like. So I'd highly recommend getting your face there at least once every 12 posts. Now, if you look at the top 4 boxes and your face is at least every 12, then there's value there. You can add in lists and you can do different reels and you can have fun with it. But it is absolutely important that you've got your face there amongst what is very, very clearly an English learning page, right? You want that to be clear from the get-go. Let's come down here. So for my top tips here, we've got the handle and that bolded line, the first line of your bio, your link or your link tree. I forgot to say that earlier. You can have a link tree and have it still be professional. And then you've got that feeling of professionalism on your page. Next, I want to talk about pillars. Can you put your hand up on the little button down here if you've ever heard of content pillars? If you've heard of content pillars, I will make sure not to spend too much time. All right, Rachel's heard of content pillars. Excellent. While we're here, my dear Rachel. Okay, Ben, awesome. Oh, Flavia, yes, I can explain what a link tree is. I don't personally use them myself, but they're very valuable. That is basically, it's a link here that goes to 3 or 4 more links. So you can have your course and a free challenge, and you can have book your session with me or listen to my podcast. And you can have numerous links there within one link. Edugo has one. So if you click on the link in Edugo's page, that will bring you to 3 different options. I always just have the one option. Okay, so we do have a couple people who know what content pillars are. I'm going to still explain them because there's still some people who are not so aware, but just for your background information, one of the things that people recommend, coaches recommend on Instagram, is to have kind of 3 content pillars, main things that you talk about more consistently. These are the foundation of your page, really. And I think what they're trying to do is make sure that people don't just talk about everything. Oh, thank you for the link, Georgia. That's awesome. Link to link trees in the chat box. Really, they say you should bring it down to 3 content pillars. And for English learners, back when I was beginning, I thought, okay, perfect. Phrasal verbs, expressions, and word of the day. Got it. Cha-ching, all done. But I will tell you, word of the day content scratches or solves only one of the problems that creates students in the future. So you'll want 3 pillars, and we're going to go over what those can be for you later. I've got a whole list. You don't have to think of all of them, but I'd love you to think of what your page you want that to represent. Okay. So for example, for myself, on my page, I talk about politics a lot. I've talked about Canadian politics. I've talked about the protests in Iran. I've talked about Biden versus Trump on my page. I've talked about Russia and Ukraine. I have talked about politics on my page. It is something I include. People that don't like it, leave. It's okay. I do try and make it a teaching moment in my own way, but it's not something I'm afraid to do, whether that be a good thing or bad thing. If you're like, oh no, no, thank you, no politics for me, that's fine. Doesn't have to be your pillar, but it is something I'm interested in because I'm also talking to business professionals and they need to know how to talk about politics in a polite and, I was going to say simplified way, but in a polite way, really. Okay. Something I also don't love about our industry, take it or leave it, you guys can agree with me or not, is the idea of native speakerism. I do not love the concept that people believe that just because I'm from Canada means that I will be a better teacher than someone else who's not from Canada. I disagree with this concept, and I post about it often. And I can tell you right now, I've had people spend $200 on a course that have never liked my page, never liked any of my comments, never commented on any of my posts, yet when they bought the page, they messaged me and said, oh my God, I just bought your Business English Academy. The reason I love your page is because of something I said that has nothing to do with English. Okay, think about it. And I am going to give some ideas. And then of course it's English, it's who I am, it's what I want to teach. Yes, of course, right? But I do want you to think more deeply than simply English lessons on your page. As I also said on that live, if you find a page that only has English lessons, you're actually less likely to want to book time with that person, because in your head, and this is a little bit psychological now, but in your head as the follower, you almost think, this is enough for me. This is how I will get fluent. If I'm a Spanish learner, let's say, and I want to learn how to become fluent in Spanish, I follow a page, the person's face is at the profile and it says buy my course here and all of that, it's all in order, but every single post is, you know, this word in Spanish and this expression in Spanish and this lesson in Spanish. I'm more likely to believe that what I'm currently doing simply by following this page is enough. And as language teachers, we probably know that that's not true. You can't just follow an Instagram page and become fluent to your highest dreams, right? So our content needs to reflect that, at least in a little way. Let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm going to come back to this one because I want to show you the pillars now. So let me just make that smaller. There we go. So for your pillars online, this way I fully support you talking and thinking about your Instagram like a classroom. Most people here have probably taught in person, at least in some point. Maybe you're not teaching in person anymore. Maybe you're still teaching fully online like myself, or maybe you're half-half. But if you go into any classroom and you just give your students a bunch of words or expressions or phrasal verbs, without anything else, just, hi guys, today's word is superfluous. Now write it out in a sentence or use it in a sentence, and then the lesson is done. We know that that doesn't actually work with students in real life, right? What does work? Telling stories. We would tell a story and use the word in it and then explain what it means. We would make them ask questions about certain things. We talk about language as being more than simply words. It is also culture. We would give tips on how-tos. You know, for myself with Business English, it's how to craft a professional looking business email. So I make posts about that. And then I link back to my Business English Academy, or send them a message, or have them send me a message to book sessions with one of our team members. We would talk about things that make our skin crawl, like native speakerism. We talk about the difference between accent or pronunciation. We can ask whether grammar is as important as we think it is, right? These are the content pillars that if you pick 3 of these things, your page will become that much more successful, because you'll start calling to the right kind of people. So for example, you can say tackling limiting beliefs. That is the mindset around learning a language. We can say language is more than just culture, or more than just words, it is culture. So you can talk about limiting beliefs, you can talk about culture, and then you can give how-tos. And if that becomes your page, and then you say, okay, and if you're ready to book a session with me, you can do that at the link in my bio or at the link in my link tree. You'll get people who are more interested in meeting with you. If your thing is about pronunciation, you've got a pronunciation course, for example, you can talk about how accent and pronunciation are 2 very different things and need to be separated. That's a post. What makes your skin crawl about accent and pronunciation, and not other people's mistakes. And then you can talk about the benefit of your offer. Learning correct pronunciation in classes, for example. So using this idea, you pick 3 of either these things, or if there's something that doesn't fall on this list, it's totally okay too. But pick 3 of these things and talk about them, show up, and create the kind of content that calls to the right person. Okay. I'm going to come back. Content creation is usually a big question. I see people are already nodding when I come back. Yes, content creation. Irina says it shows personality and makes the teacher relatable. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a funny story. So one time, probably more than 2 years ago now, I put out a little ask me anything on my Instagram stories. And somebody jokingly wrote, do Canadians really love maple syrup that much? And I thought, I can write this person back and I can say no. No, they don't. It's fine. Or I can make it into a joke, and I can put, a boomerang of me going, and then share it onto my stories. And then I thought, you know what? I do actually have a pretty funny story about maple syrup. So I created, at the time, Reels didn't exist, so that was this long ago. And I created a little video where I spoke about, the story was that I put, my husband and I have a shared grocery list on our phones. And in that, I put syrup. And my husband, lovely, lovely husband, he's still my husband, even though. So he went to the grocery store and he came home with cranberry syrup. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if your skin didn't crawl, then you are not my people. Cranberry syrup. So I basically, I will forgive you this time, but if you ever come into my house with cranberry syrup again, I will leave you. For future reference, if I ever write syrup, I mean maple syrup. Maple syrup is the only kind of syrup for my house. So it turns out I do have pretty strong feelings about syrup. I did not realize this. This was the joke. This was the content that I shared that day. And that actually led me. So one of my soon-to-be followers found that video and she started following me. And then we started chatting, and every time I went live, she was there. And then I found out she's also an English teacher, and she didn't have her own English page. She wasn't following any other English teachers. I was the first one based on that silly maple syrup story. And now she works for me. She actually works with our business English program, and I sell classes for her. And we found each other because of that stupid story. It didn't need to be something, but it was something that, like Irina says, it's a little bit more relatable. It's a little bit funny. I'm sure people learned of words and of culture in that post as well, right? So rather than me making a post of meticulous means, instead I was telling a story, and it was just so much more powerful, right? Think about it.
Such an interesting story, Kate. It makes me think about also for teachers, like when thinking about content pillars, right? So what I'm thinking about is also myself. I create all the content on LinkedIn, which is a different platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the pillars I'm thinking, also tell to other teachers is, okay, you have to take one pillar, which is you teach, because that's what you do as a teacher. Then you have to take it from other angles, other perspectives, which is to entertain and empathize, right? So you kind of like use all those 3 pillars and mix them all together, right? Don't just focus on one, because otherwise it kind of become predictable and people kind of like get oversaturated of the same content over and over again. So try to think also from this perspective. You don't have to only do one of those, but try to mix them. Empathize, meaning empathize with the challenges that your students have in terms of learning the language that you teach, and then entertain something funny, or share a story like Kate has mentioned or shared with us now.
Absolutely. I just wrote that in the chat box just because I think that's amazing. I mean, yes, absolutely. So the EEE concept, right? Giorgio just created it. There you go. Trademark it. Entertain, educate.
Oh, no, it was mine.
Okay. But one other thing that kind of came up for me was, this element of know, like, and trust, right? People will not buy from someone they do not know and like and trust. So when people show up on your page, they're giving you the opportunity to talk to them again. But if you only ever tell them one thing, it will never go further than what it already is. So for example, words of the day, phrasal verb of the day, expression of the day, all that is trust. That shows you that I am a teacher. And it shows you that I know what I'm talking about, right? But there is no know or like there. So my post today on the English Anywhere page, someone asked me what was my motivation behind my post, and I turned it into, behind my page, I turned it into the content that I shared today. And it was actually the whole story of why I started my page until where I am now. It might not get sales right away, but people will remember that story. And when they buy later, they'll say that was why. Okay. Natasha, my dear, yes.
Yeah, so the pillars is something that I'm always like struggling a lot. When I see my Instagram, I feel that it's just a mess. I'm just trying to post so it's not a blank period of nothing. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
I did this like 2 weeks ago, and I saw the likes and how much Instagram delivered my post, like going, it was terrible. And I was like, okay, I cannot do this again. But while you were talking, I was thinking about my pillars, and do you mind give me a feedback if I'm on the right way?
Let's do this.
So I live in Brazil. I teach English, and in Brazil, there's like this black cloud that English is only for rich people or people who are too smart, and that is, is, I don't know, something that it's not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I always see students saying that English is too hard, and I need to remind them that they speak Portuguese. And Portuguese is way more difficult than English.
Mm-hmm.
But I have students that struggle learning. So they've been to regular schools and they didn't learn very well because, it's like 10 students in one class, and they tend to move on, right? And students that don't like English, they think it's boring, it's too difficult. So what I do in my classes is that I always try to use what it is like something that they love about. I have 2 or 3 students that love animes. So I use the characters. I try to use parts of the story, and we use that so they can start enjoying the language, right? So I was thinking, could I say something like, I help you?
Natasha, can I just ask one question?
Sure.
What is your primary offer here? Do you have group classes? Are you looking for private one-on-one students? Do you have a course you'd like to sell?
I just in June, I stopped working in a school that I was an assistant, and now I'm a full-time private teacher.
Nice.
So it's only private classes, and for A1, A2 students. So it's beginner level.
Good. So
But
one's for beginners.
yes.
Okay.
I want to create groups, but I'm only starting. So I still need to, put my face out there and make people want to come to my classes.
Okay.
So I was thinking, can I talk about why people need English and why this is not, a monster or something for rich people or too smart people, and make and help them understand that English is important and that can open so many doors in your life. So this would be one pillar, to create this conscience that English is important. Second pillar would be like, I help you overcome this fear of English or thinking that English is boring, and create some content with the characters that I use in class, with series, with movies, with songs, and just explain, explain a part of a movie or explain a character. And a third pillar, I don't know. And sorry, I spoke too much.
No, that's great. It's important to know the background information there. So first of all, I wrote herder. I was looking at you and typing. Portuguese is harder than English. This can be a whole thing that you do weekly, where you can isolate parts of Portuguese that is harder than English. And you're not necessarily always telling them Portuguese is harder, but that is it turns out English isn't that bad, right? That can absolutely be a pillar. Second one, English is fun. So you can play games with them, you can have them interact with you in certain ways, you can show them the fun elements of English. And then I would say your third one can and should or could be the behind the scenes of your one-on-ones. So if you show up 3 or 4 times on your Instagram page per week, and you're showing that Portuguese is harder than English, you're speaking, or you're even, the cover of your post is like, Brazilian students struggle with this, so that it's calling to the right person. I did want to come back to that as well, and I will. But you want it to be very clear that the person you're talking to is Portuguese speakers who are beginner at English, right? And then the next time you post is 2 days later is something about having fun with English, playing with English, games with English. I do that often. I'll just make a thing and say, comment your answers below, and get more than 200 comments on that, versus anytime I do a lesson post, I get 3 comments. And then, like I said, the behind the scenes of one-on-one. So, for example, on my balancing teachers thing today, of course, I was also sending out the link, but it's a behind the scenes. I'm about to go live with Giorgio and talk about optimizing your business on Instagram, right? That is a behind the scenes. It's just a silly selfie of me going, hey, I'm going live now, but it's effective and it works, and people want to be there. And if they don't know about it or what it looks like, they won't be there. Right? So I would say for you, try those 3 things. And if you're like, you know what, the English is fun thing doesn't get any views, I get no reactions, I get no nothing, come back and try and find another pillar, right? It doesn't have to be pillar until you retire. You can just kind of go with it and see what happens, and play with it a little bit. And I think the more we have fun with it, the more they have fun with it too. Okay.
I want to add
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you, Natasha. I want to add one quick thing. Kate, you asked an interesting question to Natasha. Also, I want to ask all of you guys, if you want to share below in the comment, what is your offer or what's your product? Do you offer one-to-one live session? Do you offer a course, or do you offer group classes? What is it? Also to tailor the follow-up, also part of the presentation. So that'll be
Absolutely. I think that's the most fun part of teaching online, is everybody's got something different.
Exactly. There is so many ways that you can run your language business, which and so many interesting ways that actually many teachers do that. So yeah, please do share below. And Kate, I give you back the floor.
Okay, let's jump back up to number 2, and then we'll finish with that, and then we'll come back to Giorgio here. So that was jumping around, obviously. This is the one I wanted to talk about. So there's 2 really interesting statistics that I wanted to share with you today. One of them is, as I shared in that live with Giorgio, people take on average 7 seconds to, when they come to a new page, takes them about 7 seconds before they've decided if they're going to follow you or not. Knowing that information, that can feel like, but knowing that information, then you make your bio, that first line of your bio, incredibly clear. Your profile picture is a nice friendly face. You're kind of close up. It could be branded or not. It almost doesn't matter if it's branded or not, but friendly face. And then you've got some face in your top 12. Okay. This is optimizing your page. Now, let's go one step further, because we also talked about optimizing your business. But the next statistic that I have for you is really shocking. On average, people give you about 3 seconds when they're coming across a reel as to whether or not they're going to watch till the end. So if you, first of all, I'm convinced that if you're doing word of the day style content too often, they'll see your face and you're like, hi guys, and then you're already gone. People don't stop for hi guys. Right? So you want to ask questions like, did you know that this is often, for example, the Portuguese, did you know that this word doesn't mean this word, right? You can name 2 false friends. It's actually this word, and then you can go into your lesson, right? So if Portuguese, beginner, English, as for Natasha, if that is your niche, you'll want to catch people in those 3 seconds. And then as I wanted to say to Ben earlier on, you'll want to have a cover for your post that calls to exactly the person you're talking to. So I think, Ben, you were talking about creating posts possibly, or at least your Instagram and maybe even your sales page in Spanish for Spanish speakers trying to learn English. You can also do the same thing on your posts that call out, for example, Spanish learners. If we could actually go back up to my screen here. So here, for example, phrases you'll need on the phone in business English. I don't think it was this post necessarily, but I actually had, at one point, I made a post and it was like three sentences you need in business English. And somebody, actually it could have been this one as well, because so this was about the date, right? 0601 or 0106, what's the date in business English? And somebody said, but it's not just business English, it's also general English. Like, why are you saying business English here? But actually the strategy is simply that I want to call to people who are interested in business English. I would rather have 128,000 followers of people who are interested in business English than 4 million followers who are here for general English when I have a business English offer. Okay, so every single post here says business English. I bet you didn't know this word can be rude in English. This is a little quiz. What are these business English something or others? And then as you get further and further down, it is consistently business English, business English, business English. So for Ben, it would be 3 easy tips for something for Spanish speakers in English, or 3 English tips for Spanish speakers, or how to write your resume in English for Spanish speakers. You want to say that over and over again so that when they come to your page and see all that Spanish, they know that you are an English teacher who speaks Spanish and who can solve their problem. Okay. That was basically it. So that was the 7 seconds and that was the 3 seconds. It's very, like, these are the tips and tricks that help take a page from 300, 400, 700 followers to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 targeted followers who can become students or buyers, right? At the end of the day, we're teachers. We're not here to simply create content every single day and see nothing for it. Eventually we'll burn out. We want to feel like we're doing something. I don't need 128,000 buyers, but I do want to see that my time here is worth it, right? And I think if we can get these 3 things figured out, it will become worth it. Okay, so I see lots and lots of offers on the side. That is excellent. Any questions before I guess we jump over to Giorgio and creating your offer? Okay, I see some no's. Ben says, why Instagram versus Facebook versus TikTok and how often to post? Good question. Okay. I don't remember the statistic exactly, but first of all, statistically speaking, from what I can remember, is that people consider the place for businesses to be Instagram instead of Facebook. Facebook is for your friends. This is what I'm regurgitating. Facebook is for your friends. Instagram proves that you are legitimate. Okay, I know a lot of people with Instagram pages without websites, and that's totally fine too, but Instagram has a different feeling than a Facebook group, which tends to just be about community, and then you try and sell your services, and it's just a different feeling. I have also heard statistics on Instagram, for example. This is where people now go to buy things. Like they're more interested in buying directly from Instagram. I'm not sure if Instagram made that first or realized they were missing something. There's actually something to that. Now, TikTok, I don't know. Personally, I don't think my business English niche is on TikTok. So I'm not there, but they could be. Maybe I'm missing something, and maybe one day I'll just say, let's see, and I might make more people from there. But personally, I think TikTok is too young. Their audience is too young. If your perfect audience is high school kids or university age kids who want to have fun with English, yeah, it might be perfect for you. But for me with business English, it's just not. So I think it's important to remember that too. How often to post is a really difficult question. Can I ask you guys how often you post per week? Throw me the number in the chat box. On average, I'm not going to go count, I promise. Twice a week, 6 times a week, 3 times a week, okay? 1 reel a day, Irina, my girl. No, it's good. It's excellent. 5 times a week, Natasha, good. Okay, so we're all over the place. But that's good. I think I could overwhelm you and give you a number, but I think what I'll say instead is that the faster you'd like to grow should dictate how many times per week you should post. I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. I post 14 times per week on the English Anywhere page. And that is because I do 2 things. I batch about 30 reels. I've now made more, but at one point in the month of September, I realized I have not filmed since June. My family was coming in July, so I batched 30 reels and I have them set up. I even save them into my camera roll so that if I get kicked out of Instagram, I don't lose 30 reels of all of that time. I'll take one morning, I'll change my clothes, I'll create all sorts of different content, and that is sitting and ready to go. I wake up in the morning, my eyeballs open, and I hit send because that's my perfect time. It's my perfect time. And then later on in the afternoon, I share one static post that is best for saves. So that is 1 reel in the morning and 1 thing in the afternoon, or I focus on engagement and I'll ask people to engage with me. I play games, things like this. So for me, there's 14 times, but 7 reels. And I will say, so it was June. What month are we in now? October. It was June. It was my birth week. It was my birthday, and I went viral 6 times and grew from 40,000 to 120,000 in 3 weeks.
Congrats, that's good numbers.
Thank you.
I mean, more than doubled your followers.
More than doubled in 3 weeks. And the insanity, and I don't want to talk too much about me. Thank you, Irina. I don't want to talk too much about me, but in that time, so you can see if someone has a blue check who follows you. So like I'm my husband and my kids and I, we were on holiday. So I'm not even on my phone all the time. I come back, I got 3,000 more followers since I checked 3 hours ago. And then I would see little blue checks in the list. So I'd check, and it's like, there was at least 3 or 4 news anchors from other countries following me, all verified with 45,000 followers for them or 12,000 followers for them. I have one guy from Jazeera following me to learn English. So I'm actually contemplating creating a group class for news anchors. Why not? Because there's at least 4. Every time I saw this little blue check, it was a news anchor. So I don't know what they did. Thank you, Carnegie. That is why, not why we're doing this, but that is strategic, right? You see that these people are here. I started a group class last week. I opened it up on, I don't remember the date, but within 3 hours, so I opened it up around 9 o'clock. I said, I'm opening a group class. And by the time I went to bed, I had 5 buyers, 5 students already in the class. And 3 mentions later, the class was full and I had to say, stop, we're not letting any more people in, because I wanted 8. I wanted no more than 8. But this is the kind of, it's out there. Instagram is a place for people to buy. If you're like, nobody's buying, or they're always sending me the wrong people, the stupid algorithm sends me the wrong people, or whatever. It's not the algorithm sending you the wrong people. It might be the content. Go back to those pillars. English is fun. English is for everyone. Grammar is not important, or grammar is important. Ben might say grammar is important. Flavia says grammar's not important. That got very loud. Sorry, Sid. Natasha says, you know, pronunciation is not important. And somebody else says, work on your accent. We have a pronunciation course. It's okay. You guys can create these different things, and these are the things that you stand for. But if you have a pronunciation course, pronunciation is one of your pillars. Okay. Now I feel like I'm yelling at you guys. I'm going to stop.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Thank you very much. No worries. Always interesting to learn from your experience, since you are yourself teaching as well. I've asked this question before, like, what is the offer that you guys have currently? And I've seen in the comments that most teachers currently offer live session one-to-one, and some are thinking to transitioning to sell a language course. And obviously then the question becomes, what is a language course? We did a webinar last 2 weeks ago about after a research we did asking different language school directors, freelance teachers, what is exactly a language course? So try to demystify a little bit the definition, because for some teacher, a language course is just content. For other teachers, it's content plus live session with one student. For others, it's content plus group live session and activity. So there is a variety of definitions. For each teacher has its own definition. So we kind of like cover this topic. But my question for you is, maybe Kate also, you can relate to this. I know at least teachers we work with is we've seen that many are kind of transitioning from teaching one-to-one to create their own digital product, in this case, a language course. And why most teachers want to do, maybe you can share, guys, why do you want to create a language course in the comments below? It's kind of like I have the answer, but maybe I'll wait a few seconds to share your reasons why would you like to do that. So I'm gonna wait a few seconds and then I'll move on. Okay, so I see Kate, obviously passive income, create passive income. Someone, Ben, saying the same. Natasha, agree with Kate, passive income. Okay, so that one is, and probably you guys know that passive income is not really passive. You still have to put in the work if you want to create a course in this case and create that passive income, because obviously then you have to think what kind of course I want to create, how often I want to update it, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, so Flavia, I would like to be able to reuse content and don't devote so much time to the preparation of one-to-one class. Okay, thank you. Flavia, Irina, ability to teach more students at once. Yeah, that's true. That's a different way to scale a language business through content and pre-scheduled live sessions. So just to link a little bit with what Kate has shared, so you build your own community or your follower base with your page on Instagram, and what do you want to do next, right? So maybe your current offer is you want to, let's say your current offer is offering one-to-one live session, but why would you go and create a language course? One reason it's simple, because you want to create passive income, and you want to teach more students and so on and so forth. So you need obviously to kind of productize yourself and create a course that kind of like it's there for the students who are interested. Probably you'll get followers or students who will follow your Instagram page will be usually 2 or 3 kinds. So students who kind of like ready to buy from you. In this case, they are there. So you just have to have a product, in this case, a language course. Obviously, if they already if they already purchased, if you don't want to sell or you don't have time anymore to sell one-to-one live session, a language course could be a good product for them. And the other case, it's you want to have a language course probably also because you want to build trust with students who are following your Instagram page, but they are not yet ready to buy from you. So they are paying attention, but they want to see a little bit more deeper how you think, or if you are also the right person that can teach them the language, right? So this can be like another reasons beside obviously to create passive income, to have a language course to sell, obviously, to students who are ready to buy. But another reason is to build trust at a deeper level with people who follow your Instagram page. Okay, so move forward. So what I want to kind of like show someone ask, I've seen it shared in the comments, is like, okay, how do I create a language course, or how do I create a course and a group live session with students. We at Edugo, obviously, we help teachers to like transition from, not from exactly, but beside having one-to-one live session, give teachers the tools to be able to create their own language courses. And how do we do that? We provide a white label platform. So I'm gonna share, sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen. Just bear with me 1 second here. I'm gonna share some examples, okay. All right, so here we are. So we provide, as I mentioned, a white label platform to teachers where you can create your own language courses. The way to do that, you can create activities, language-specific activities for speaking, reading, and all the language typical skills that students have to learn. And you can package those kind of activities in a course. So I'm going to press in this section here called Classroom. I'm going to share with you a course that I have already created, my colleagues created beforehand, and how this course look like. So I'm going to share with you the landing page of this course. So you obviously can take this landing page. And I think Flavia before asked, okay, how can I have a Linktree? So you can use Linktree to embed this link within your Instagram. So you kind of send the traffic from Instagram to this landing page of this course. This is a course, English for Career Development, so it's very specific and very structured. And this course, in this case, is content-based and pre-scheduled live session. So a student will see basically, okay, the description of the course, how many students have enrolled, when is the live session, and so on and so forth, and what is the curriculum of this course. So here are some of the topics. Let me show you a little bit more in depth how this course looks like from a student perspective once the student has enrolled in this course. What does the student can see? It's obviously the content. So this, again, this course could be either paid, so you sell it to students who are ready to purchase, or you can create another course, which can be a free lead magnet, an evergreen course that is designed for students who want to know a little bit more deeper you, and you want to build that trust and that relationship with them, right? So the content of the course, as I mentioned, it's covering the skills like speaking, reading, and so on and so forth. And here is an example of video content that you can leverage. So it's very simple. Based on that video, the system will create gamified activities for your student. You yourself can create those gamified activities and so on and so forth. So I'm just going through it really quickly. This is a fill in the blank exercise. There are many types of exercises. So if you think about Duolingo, all kind of those exercises are embedded in the platform. You can have like, say, your own Duolingo that you can create exercises for your students. So I'm just showing really quickly, speaking, reading. So, I am looking for a job. And many other activities. What does it mean? That you can actually see a little bit what was the outcome or the student performance with this content, right? So before going live, and in this case, if you go in the agenda, you can see that there is a scheduled live session with the student on the 20th of, let's say, October, and students can join the live session. But you can see, okay, who are the students who are enrolled in this course? You can see this in the directory section, so you can have an overview, but also you can see what was the interaction with the content that they had. So you can keep track of the statistic, and also you can go more in depth for each student. You can see a little bit which mistake they did with the content that you have designed for them, which things they did correct, which things they did wrong, and so on and so forth. So you can have like an overview with the content of the content they interacted with. That's more or less an overview on how you can leverage courses. If you're interested, and if you feel also ready to kind of like try out and design your own language courses, what I would ask you is actually try activate a free trial via this link. There is a free 14 days trial. You can check it out. You can activate the platform, the school for you, and you can create some activities and share with your students and see what is also their input. Obviously, you can create then later on, if you're interested to go more in depth, you can create your own language courses, sell those courses to students, and so on and so forth. That's more or less the link how you kind of like build your audience on Instagram and then transition that audience to your own ecosystem and sell your own language courses. In that case, a language course, content plus live session, or just content, and so on and so forth. If you have any question, please do ask me. We have still more for a few minutes. We're already over the time. But if you guys have more or any other questions, do hesitate ask me or Kate also about the topic that she has covered. Okay, so I see a question from Ben. I'm gonna read it out loud. Can you use it by mobile? Is there an app? How long does it take to set up? Okay. Ben, you can activate the platform in, I think, in a few minutes by going on our website where I shared the link. And it's a web app, meaning that it's mobile responsive, especially for the students. I know that a lot of students, they like to interact with an app rather than staying in front of the desktop. Whereas for teachers, it's okay to use a desktop, especially because you have to create content, you have to think about the curriculum. But yes, it's mobile responsive, so it takes it works on mobile, and it takes a few minutes to set it up. How much is the cost for using your platform? You can check more about in the pricing section. There's different subscription packages. There is it depends on which package. So there go from, I think, 12 euros per month to more customized, which it's another price setting. But you can check more information about this in our website. Sid, I hope I replied to your question. I think we can answer the last, if there is a question. Generally, do I have to choose between live classes and record courses, or can I do both? Again, Telma, this is a topic, like what is a language course? So again, we covered this in our previous webinar, and I'm gonna share with you the link if you want to watch it. It's on our YouTube channel. So I'm gonna share it here. But to answer your question, you can do both. So you can do either content, you can do content and live session, or you can do just teach one-on-one live session through the to the platform. So there is all the version and based on what or how you want to deliver your course or your teaching material.
I would add here, Giorgio, I think actually the best courses have elements of both. So and this is one thing I remind my followers on the English side as well as the Balancing Teachers side. So on the English side, for example, we've got videos. Bye, Rachel. Have a good weekend. So on the English side, anyways, we've got videos that you can watch in your own time. And that is how we market that. We say you can watch this whenever you've got time. This is, completely self-paced. And then we include an element of live lessons that people can come and show up for.
Right.
At one point, we had live sessions for the Balancing Teachers side where we were helping teachers to build their online businesses. They would show up, we would have the live session, and now we've taken that recording as well. They can watch that recording in their time, and then they can also show up and ask any questions when something is a struggle, right? So I personally find that best, but simply because I'm a teacher at heart. If you're the kind of person you're like, I just want to be out of this completely, I don't want to have to do it anymore, then create the kind of course that you don't need to have that interaction with. However, if you're like, I still just love teaching, like for me, I just love teaching, but we can create something where they're getting all sorts of great information, and then I'm showing up once every 2 weeks, but they're still getting all this great information.
Yeah, definitely you have to balance between the value, the product that you offer, and also your marketing ability and capability, right? So you could be an evergreen course that works as a lead magnet and it's free. In that case, yeah, you can maybe have mostly content based, some once a week or once a month, a live session as a Q&A to kind of like allow you to build that trust, and then sell maybe also to students who kind of in this evergreen free language course that you use as a lead magnet to sell your, let's say, upsell your premium product or premium course where you have more live sessions per month schedule. Definitely you can create multiple courses and fit them in within your strategy that you have, like your go-to-market strategy. Definitely that's a strategy that you can deploy for your language business.
Yeah, absolutely. I find as well the live events also give you a really great opportunity to give the behind the scenes of your business, right? So I said for Natasha earlier that 3 pillars are English is fun, English is for everyone, or English and Portuguese is harder. And then the other side is the behind the scenes. It gives you a reason to show up in your stories and say, by the way, guys, within our course, within our community, we're having this live event tonight. If you join now, you can also be there. You can ask questions live. Right? So it does kind of give you that opportunity. If you're not ever adding anything new, then you're just kind of marketing the same thing over and over again and hoping someone will eventually bite, which happens. But having that idea of the live, it really does help. But you can even just do it once a month.
Okay, I think last question, Ben Ryder, does it have a marketing funnel included? I think to build a marketing funnel for your business, I think Kate, it's a good, especially if you leverage Instagram as a platform, you can follow up also after this via DM with Kate, Ben. But as a platform itself, there is no like a specific marketing funnel, but you can build your own products. Yes, Kate, thank you for sharing your Instagram. If you want to share also your link. But yeah, as I mentioned, we enable you to use the tools to build the courses according to what is your marketing strategy. But if you want to develop a specific funnel, which is related to Instagram, I think Kate is the best coach that can help you with that.
We talk about that a lot on the Balancing Teachers page. We'll talk about lead magnets. We'll talk about going live. Every post that I make and create is specific to online teachers. So if you go over to the page, you'll see online, like this tip for online teachers. Again, it's that same concept from number 2. But I do also, like you said earlier, Giorgio, you could do a free lead magnet or a low paid magnet within Edugo as well. So if Instagram is the top of your funnel, you're sending people towards a low paid magnet, and then that low paid magnet includes elements of know, like, and trust, and then sends you on to the higher paid course that is your funnel. And then you can add in later if you're like, I want to start a podcast, you can start that too. I want to start a community or a membership or something like this. You can add it in that fits within your funnel. And all of these things are leading you towards one end. That is a funnel. So, I mean, I'll happily go on. I've definitely didn't do it today, but I'll happily go on and talk about funnels at some point in the next little bit on my page. But if this is the kind of thing you want to talk about, then come join me at Balancing_Teachers.
All right, I think we kind of we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of you guys attending the webinar. And I have one last request for those who still were brave enough to stay with us. If you guys want to switch on the camera and take a nice picture all together, don't keep it off. But if you have the courage and willingness to come on and share your hands up, your hands, and just have fun with each other with your colleagues like this, it'll be awesome. And I'll take a quick screenshot. Okay, amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Now I don't know what to do with my hands.
Here we got it. Okay,
Awesome.
everyone, have a great weekend and looking forward. And yeah, follow our channels, Instagram, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thank you.